There is an old adage that says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think we all agree with the merit of that, but there's always someone willing to tinker. But if it needs fixing, then you've come to the right place. The heartbeat of the internet. If we had no winter, the spring would not be so pleasant. If we did not sometimes taste of adversity, prosperity would not be so welcome. Anne Bradstreet. Hello once again, I'm Don Jackson. There are very few of us who can actually say that they have never felt broken in one way or another. A broken confidence, a broken friendship, a broken heart. There was a great radio program in the golden age of radio. Fred Allen did a live comedy show before an audience. One bit became a staple of the show. Every time he went to open a certain closet door, everything would come crashing down onto the floor. There was just so much junk inside that closet. It made for great laughs on the radio, but in reality, it's not so much a closet as it is a stuffed suitcase. We come to each relationship with a certain amount of emotional baggage in tow. Sometimes we try to hide it, but it rarely stays hidden for long. Something will happen or be said that suddenly makes us aware of the emotional weight we've been carrying. And from that point on, the trunks and suitcases are opened one by one. One of the books I often turn to for answers is A Garland of Love by Daphne Rose Kingma. In it, she writes, and I quote, "Inside the intricacy of our psyches, we all know how much we need to be seen. None of us has come of age having been seen so well that we can truly see ourselves, who we are, how we look, what we came here to do, how we are broken, what moves and touches us. Knowing the particular ways in which you need to be mirrored and discovering the ways in which the person you love also needs to be given an image of him or herself is one of the kind undertakings of love. See if you can identify some aspect of yourself that is still invisible to you, your wit, your ability as an artist, your intelligence, and tell the other person how very much you need this to be reflected back to you. Love is the mirror in which we are given back the truest image of ourselves." We can begin the process of fixing what is wrong by acknowledging the pain that accompanies these breaks and where it often originates. Khalil Gibran in The Prophet wrote, "And a woman spoke, saying, 'Tell us of pain.' And he said, 'Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder the daily miracles of your life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy, and you would accept the seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields, and you would watch with serenity through the winters of your grief. Much of your pain is self-chosen. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility. For his hand, though heavy and hard, is guided by the tender hand of the unseen. And the cup he brings, though it burn your lips, has been fashioned of the clay which the potter has moistened with his own sacred tears." Sometimes our faults are part of the reason why someone we care deeply for loves us even more. Sarah Teasdale wrote, "They came to tell your faults to me. They named them over one by one. I laughed aloud when they were done. I knew them all so well before. Oh, they were blind, too blind to see. Your faults had made me love you more. Anatole France wrote, "All changes, even the most longed for, have their melancholy. For what we leave behind us is a part of ourselves. We must die to one life before we can enter another." One of my most cherished books in my library is one from quite a few years ago. It is called Hearts That We Broke Long Ago, written by Merle Shane. In it, she wrote, and I quote, "I would start at the beginning if I knew where the beginning was, but I do not know for sure. I only suspect that it starts with the first deep wound, and after that, like a person who limps or cradles their withered arm close to their side, we favor the place where the knife went in." Some lines later, she continues, "There is an old Hindu saying about the melon and the knife. Whether the melon falls on the knife or the knife falls on the melon, the saying goes, it's the melon that suffers. And so it would appear to me. Some of us hurl ourselves at life, and others crouch and wait for it to roll up over us. But you can usually tell who it is who is taking on life and who it is who is fending it off, and whether this is a new game or whether it is old." End quote. Much later in her book, she wrote, again I quote, "How do some people give themselves the slip and come out of the dark tunnel into the light of day, and others play the same game all their lives, losing to themselves each and every day? Is it simply an ability to recognize patterns, an accident of genetics, a couple of cells of gray matter more or less in the right place? Perhaps, but I think not. It's more a matter of how soft the flesh in which the knife was plunged, how deep the thrust, and by whom." End quote. The W.H. Auden quote at the beginning of her book was obviously the inspiration for the title. Auden wrote, "The nightingales are sobbing in the orchards of our mothers, and hearts that we broke long ago have long been hurting others." John Updike wrote, "Some steps must be taken defiantly against the grain. There is no growth without a bursting, without pain. Primitive peoples, in their wisdom, place pain at the center of initiation." Merle Shane, in her wonderful book Hearts That We Broke Long Ago, went on to say, and again I quote, "We all carry the cross-hatching of 1,000 wounds. The wounds of childhood, still bleeding like the signs of the stigmata. The wounds of adolescence, still stinging with remembered pain. The bitter wounds of adult failures, or soured loves and lost dreams. How to make them all go away? How to become brave and young again? How to wipe the slate clean and re-enter the world like a tabula rasa, trusting and trustworthy again? I wish I knew. I only know the answer doesn't lie in learning how to protect yourself from life. It lies in learning how to strengthen yourself so you can let a bit more of it in." In the beginning of The Thornbirds by Colleen McCullough is this: "There is a legend about a bird which sings just once in its life, more sweetly than any other creature on the face of the earth. From the moment it leaves the nest, it searches for a thorn tree and does not rest until it has found one. Then, singing among the savage branches, it impales itself upon the longest, sharpest spine, and dying, it rises above its own agony to outcarol the lark and the nightingale. One superlative song, existence the price, but the whole world stills to listen, and God in his heaven smiles, for the best is only bought at the cost of great pain, or so says the legend. End quote. That might be true in the case of ancient legends, but in life we don't need to take it quite to that extreme. One final thought from writer Merle Shane in her Canadian bestseller, Hearts That We Broke Long Ago. This is a book that would be welcome in any library. She wrote, and again I quote, "Mortal wounds, once sustained but never healed, are like bound feet. One does not notice how much they hurt until someone takes the bindings off, and then the pain is great. And sometimes we make the mistake of running from the person who removes the bindings, rather than from the one who put them on." I have one last writing from an unknown author. It's about a mother and child. The child is asked, what is the most important body part? Through the years, the child gives many answers, but they're all wrong. The child's answers included the ears, the eyes, and then the child's grandfather died. The pain felt at his passing was great. Even the father cried. The child had only seen the father cry on one other occasion. When it was the mother's turn to offer one final goodbye, she turned to the child and asked the question again. "Do you know the most important body part yet?" The child was bewildered. To be asked such a question at this time of grief made no sense. But then the mother explained, and I quote, "My dear, the most important body part is your shoulder." I asked, "Is it because it holds up my head?" She replied, "No, it is because it can hold the head of a friend or a loved one when they cry. Everybody needs a shoulder to cry on sometime in life. I only hope that you have enough loving friends that you will always have a shoulder to cry on when you need it." Then and there, I knew the most important body part is not a selfish one. It is sympathetic to the pain of others. End quote. And that's about the best remedy for fixing anything. Have a great day and a good night, filled with many sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.